Hello everyone! Here we are, a whole year later, and we are back to TeruShouEnnoTana Halloween special. Well, back. Once again. And I am very excited for this one. You voted for fluffy vibe, so who am I to say no? We need some fluff, especially in this storyline, so let's get into it, shall we? As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who subscribe and watch these videos, especially these months. You're keeping this channel alive and going. Thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy. As the day of Halloween celebration drew closer once again, Dasho found himself pacing around much more than ever since he moved in with his boyfriend. Scatterbrained and unable to stop listening to all sounds around him, his nerves were strained like a bowstring at all times, even when he was supposed to relax. He was sure the others had to notice his unrest, as he had no strength left to pretend he was fine. Fortunately, it seemed like his boyfriends took it as it was and tried their best to help him, for which he was eternally grateful. It might have not been working as they wished, but it's the thought that counts. Especially Tanaka seemed adamant about not leaving his side unless he absolutely had to, his gentle touches warming Dasho's heart more than any blanket or heater could. Even now, as they dove deep into baking and cooking, Tanaka hadn't moved from the seat opposite of him. If it was to guard him or to have better access to the sweets, he wasn't sure though. Should we just pretend we aren't home this year? Dasho looked up from the tray of cupcakes he was just decorating to resemble ghosts and pumpkins, surprised to hear Terushima of all people suggest that. But why? I thought you were looking forward to handing candy out. Yeah, I do, but maybe it would be better to just not open the door this year at all, since... He gave Dasho a pained look, and Dasho shivered with the reminder of last year's Halloween. He didn't have to say it out loud that he still recalled the feeling of a gun muzzle pressed against his head, or the sickly sweet purr next to his ear. He couldn't forget that as much as he wanted. But while he was grateful Terushima wanted to protect him, on the other hand, I don't think that's the best idea. Huh? But think about it. That guy got in here without breaking the lock or anything, and went here when he knew Suguru was alone. What if he will think we are gone again, or asleep, and will see it as an opportunity to break in again? Dasho had to agree, as much as the image terrified him. Sure, the chance of the intruder being around a second time was low, but it wasn't zero. And considering how weird he acted, it wouldn't surprise him if what Enoshita said was indeed true. Terushima seemed to come to the same conclusion and slumped a little, leaning a little into Dasho's side, perhaps as an apology. Yeah, I guess that's right. So it's better we show we are all here, right? To drive him away. Yeah, exactly. At least you don't have to give up spreading joy among kids. Terushima smiled, though it wasn't anything like his usual blinding smiles they were used to. A gentle kiss landed on Dasho's cheek, sending light shivers through his skin. Right. Yeah, that's for the best anyway. He squared his shoulders, some of the usual enthusiasm returning into his face and voice. In that case, I should get into completing my costume. You have a costume? Obviously. It's not Halloween without costumes. Aren't the kids supposed to be dressing up? You're just handing out candy. Terushima narrowed his eyes at him, pointing a finger at him like some game lawyer. I'll let you know, it doesn't matter how old you are, anyone can dress up for Halloween. Besides, my costumes are amazing and deserve to be worn. Tanaka gave him a dubious look, which just prompted the two to descend into their usual squabble, and Dashio couldn't stop the smile from curling his lips. It was moments like this that made his heart flutter, filling him with joy of sharing his life with the most amazing people he knew. He glanced at Enoshita, who looked similarly amused by the two, though there was a shadow of worry in his eyes Dashio knew all too well. Trying not to think about the bad stuff, he continued to work on decorating the cupcakes and cookies they prepared, hoping the good mood would stay until tomorrow when the real celebration would start. He woke up later in the afternoon, surrounded by warmth. After a bit of recalling, he realized he not only fell asleep about halfway throughout the fairy tale they put on, but he ended up curled to Tanaka's side, snuggled deep in his arms. Hence the warmth. Speaking of, Tanaka gave him a soft smile and pushed the unruly hair from his eyes. Morning. Very late morning. Chuckling, Tanaka kissed his forehead and pulled him closer, getting an involuntary soft whine out of him. It was a peaceful moment, one Daisho wished would stay forever. It had been like this since they started dealing with Tanaka's parents, and while he would prefer if it didn't hurt Tanaka so much, he was glad it brought them much closer. He loved all three of his partners equally, though each for a different reason. But Tanaka had become his safe haven, and to his immense joy, it seemed like Tanaka saw it the same way. Want to join in on pumpkin carving? They already started? Yeah, about half an hour ago. He smiled. They didn't want to wake you up, so they went ahead. But we can join them now if you want. Okay, that sounds good. He yawned and stretched his stiff muscles, shivering when the warmth radiating from Tanaka disappeared. But before he could complain about that, Tanaka handed him his fluffiest hoodie with a knowing grin. Overcome by a sudden wave of fondness, he closed the short distance between them and gave Tanaka a peck on the cheek before he huddled into the hoodie, his heart thundering in his chest. Let's go? The silence stretched, and then he was engulfed in the warmest hug he knew. Yeah, let's. He could swear Tanaka's voice trembled slightly when he spoke, but once he pulled away, he just looked content and perhaps excited. He then offered Dashio his hand and tugged him towards the garden door. Terushima was in a much better mood than yesterday if he could judge by the shining smile he flashed them once they stepped outside. His hands and clothes were covered with pumpkin guts, but he looked so proud of his creation, even Enoshita didn't seem to mind that much. Finally, you're awake. Come on, I got you the best pumpkin ever. His enthusiasm was infectious, making Dashio crack a smile too as he was being dragged to the pumpkin Terushima apparently hollowed out for him already, which explained the amount of mess on his person. A few ideas on what kind of face he could carve into it materializing in his mind. Yuji, you're seriously acting like a child sometimes. So what? I'm keeping myself young and happy. Unlike you, Grams, who will turn salty the moment you hit 30. What did you just say? I think we should hang you up by your ears. Hey, I'm older than both of you. Physically, maybe. Mentally? Not a chance. So good, they're bullying me again. Dasha chuckled softly and gently ruffled Terushima's hair when said overgrown child hugged his arm. It's okay, you can enjoy anything you want. It's a celebration after all. Terushima grinned victoriously at the two, taking his place next to Dashio, noting that at least someone understands. And then the garden filled with lively voices and laughter as they carved their pumpkins, only realizing how much time had passed when it got dark. Using that to their advantage, they moved the damn pumpkins to the front of the house and lit the tea candles inside, taking a moment to watch their creations with pride. Looks awesome, huh? It does. You did a great job. We all did. I bet the kids will love it. As if lightning struck into him, Terushima jumped up and rushed back inside, calling something about having to prepare. The three of them exchanged amused glances and followed after him to prepare the candy, and while Dashio had no intention of changing into any costume, he found himself looking forward to having a normal Halloween night. Hopefully, that is. The kids started to go around the neighborhood slightly later in the evening, and Dashio had to admit some of the costumes were a mastercraft of sewing. However, nothing compared to the rave costume Terushima wore. It was detailed to the point he was worried the kids would get scared when Terushima opened the door, but it seemed the reactions were fairly positive, always accompanied by at least one loud exclamation of "So cool!" which undoubtedly made Terushima happy. Dashio also managed to push himself to open the door a few times, despite the chills always running down his spine when he heard the words trick or treat. He tried to push the memory deep into some unused part of his mind, knowing it was just kids who wouldn't do anything to him. But sometimes he couldn't help it. Especially the deeper into the evening it got. The street was already submerged in darkness, chased away only by the blinking lights of pumpkins and Halloween-shaped lamps, when he opened to two girls dressed as witches, forcing a smile despite the sudden terror gripping his mind. He quickly looked around the street, but he couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. And yet, he couldn't shake off the feeling that something or someone was watching him at that very moment. He opened his mouth to call at one of his boyfriends to come to his side, but his voice betrayed him, leaving him standing frozen in the doorway with his heart pounding in his ears as if it was trying to warn him from something. Then a light tug on his sweater startled him. "You look lost." With a shaky sigh of relief, he squatted down to the little girl's eye level, leaving the bowl of candy in his lap while he tried to muster a smile. "Why do you think so?" The girl shrugged. "That's what Mommy always says when someone freezes like you. Or that you look like you saw a ghost." "I see. I suppose I am a bit lost, but it's alright." He offered the bowl to her, his heart slowly calming down. "Any preferences? Do you have any caramel candy?" "Sure do." He picked out 3 pieces of caramel candy, the way the girl's eyes shone when he handed them to her, releasing the tension settled around his chest. He stayed outside for a little longer, watching the two as they made their way to another house before his instinct forced him to shut the door behind him. Enoshita paused when he saw him, his expression turning alert almost immediately. "What's wrong? Something happened?" The other two turned to him as well, their faces mirroring the concern in Enoshita's voice. Instead of an answer, Dashio made a beeline to Tanaka, Curling by his side to hide from the invisible danger his mind was trying to warn him of. True to his nature, Tanaka didn't ask nor miss a beat and hugged him. The soft reassurances whispered into his ear, helping Dasho settle his rapid breathing. It's okay, just stay here from now, huh? Here, take one. His hand trembled when he reached for the plate of cookies Terushima held in front of him. The sugar helped a little bit, but he still had to take another 2 pieces before he somewhat settled. Thank you. For nothing. Let's put some movie on. Anyone against Ghostbusters? They soon settled by the TV, huddled together on the couch with sweets and snacks shared among them. It took a while before Dasho managed to relax again, the closeness and shared warmth helping quite a lot. His heart still sped up every time Enoshita or Terushima got up to answer the door, but Tanaka's solid presence next to him kept him from panicking. And so he melted into the embrace, trying to focus on the positive things over the crippling fear he didn't even know the source of. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Of course, I couldn't leave it completely on the fluffy note. I needed to add some angst into it, or I guess potential angst. But hey, once again, I have an excuse to write some Tanaka and Dasho interactions, and you know I will go all out on those. Yeah, the brain rot is real. I still didn't get rid of it, and yeah, expect more. By the way, the finale of Tanaka's parents' struggles is coming soon. I'm about halfway through the script, so that's going to be finished soon, and then we are back to Dasho's stalker storyline. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time!